Morning. Hi. Hi, Ian. How are you?
Trying to unmute. It wouldn't unmute.
That's okay. How are you? Long time no
Good.
speak.
Have you had a good holiday in America?
I had a wonderful holiday, thank you. Yes, it was
Good.
great. Didn't want to come home.
Totally
Yeah.
understand that.
Have you had a lovely summer?
Um, I think so.
Oh, okay.
It's been a bit of a trial. I'll tell you that another time.
Oh, right. Okay. Okay. Um, cool. Okay. Well, you got the message that it was a slightly earlier time
Yep, just
for
yeah,
the meeting. Yeah. So we've got quite a few people booked today. So we'll just wait a little bit longer. Oh,
no
hey,
problem.
Alex. Um, I think there's a few people joining last minute. Uh, Morning, Alex and James. Hi, James. How are you? Hi, Alex. Lovely to see you. Oh, here's Helen. I just let a few more people in. I think the registration thing is confusing everybody again. Uh, I need to.
Yeah,
I
that
need
did
to.
that did slow me down. Good morning. I thought I'd
Um,
registered already.
yeah, it's only so that we can then kind of monitor who's registered and then attended, but it's a little bit clunky, so I might have to refine that slightly. Right, okay, a couple of minutes past, so I will get going. So, welcome to Simply Visible Live. This is also known as Website Wednesday, and it because time is short for everybody. I do this as my sort of streamlined 30 minutes weekly event where I get to sort of share some free value with you around your website, how to make it perform better on search engines, and sorry, somebody else trying to come in, and also helping you ultimately to get more clients, because that's what it's all about, isn't it? Or get the right clients, I should say. Um, this event is an extension of my free community called Simply Visible over on Facebook. And I'll drop a link in the comments later on. So if you're not a member already, then come over and join in. So it's great to be back. I've had a little break over the summer. I've come back with a bit of a squeaky voice because I've had a bit of a cold. But apart from that, I'm raring to go for the last quarter of the year, and I hope you are too. And actually, this season sounds very American, but this season I'm trying a new time of 11ish. So it might be 11:30 next week, but I'm sticking with Wednesday because Website Wednesday has a ring to it. Anyway, so let me just get my slides actually working. Here we go. So we're going to talk about SEO tools today. I'm going to share with you what I believe are the three core tools that you need. And the good news is they're free, um, and how they will help you to be more visible and to get better results from search engines. Um, and just a quick bit about me, for some of you who haven't been here before. I've been in digital marketing since 2001. And after leaving the corporate world, I designed and built websites for many, many years. And what was clear early on was that getting a website live was only the first part, because I was often asked, well, then what? What happens now? Why is my website not coming up on Google? How do I get it to perform? Which are all very valid points. And so I moved more into marketing and content and SEO services at that point. And then I took a bit of a U-turn in 2020, where I started to share more of my knowledge and to teach these topics, because I'm on a bit of a mission to help personal brands and service providers, whether that's coaches or consultants or small businesses, who um, to sort of take out the jargon of SEO and the tech speak, and to sort of help you understand it, and therefore execute it in your website. Because whilst it is technical, it's also very logical. And so once you know what you're doing, it's very doable. So I kind of sometimes call myself a jargon-free SEO translator, because quite frankly, SEO is like another language. I'm sure you'll all agree. So there's a small agency side to my business, where we do some of the doing, but mostly I'm about empowering you to do as much, or you and your teams to do as much as you can. And then the bits that we pick up tend to be the techie bits that nobody wants to do, which is absolutely fine. But really, what my mission and goal is to help you learn the process, so that in the future, if you work with bigger companies, you actually can talk the talk. You can communicate what you want, rather than feeling like you're being blinded with science, or it's too much to, you don't know what you want, and so an agency might lead you and it might not be what you want because you didn't know what you wanted. So that's kind of what I feel is missing for many small businesses, is that understanding of how it applies to their business. So before we start talking SEO tools, would anybody, very briefly, we're not going to go around the room or anything, but if anybody wanted to share what brought them here today, was it the topic of SEO tools, or was there something else that piqued your interest? I'd love to know.
For me, it's just to get back onto the horse with you after the summer break.
Ah, lovely. That's good to hear, Ian. Yeah, because these weekly sessions do kind of give a little bit of focus to the thinking about your website once a week. So Ian is one of my regulars, and that's great to hear. Anybody else briefly, or I can just press on. Okay.
Yes, I'd like to add something.
Yes,
my website is being upgraded or revamped, and I know absolutely nothing about SEO. So I'm keen to learn some new skills. So that's my interest. Thank
Brilliant.
you.
Well, it's lovely to have you here, Helen, and you're very welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, so so why do we want to measure? Well, basically, if I said 15 seconds is how long we have to impress a potential prospect on our webpage, it kind of refocuses your attention, because, we haven't got long to hook them in. And if it's the wrong fit, it's the wrong prospect, that's a good thing. We've repelled them, and that's what we want it to do. But if it is a good prospect, then we want to keep them there, and we want to give them that reason to stay. 90.63% of web pages get no organic or free search traffic from Google. So whilst many of those pages might not be relevant to being in search, actually that is a lot of wasted opportunity. And the fact that we have search engines and organic search and these tools in place, we want to make the most of them and get our website coming up in those results. And you can't grow what you don't measure. So, having tools to help us is important. And if you think of your website as a tool itself, but the content is what fuels it, then like any tool, you need to maintain it and monitor it and understand it. It's a bit like a car, the dashboard. Okay, the dashboard of a car only gives us the key things we need to know about. Have we got enough fuel? Are we going too fast? Oil, something about oil. So I'm sure there's lots of other things we would measure on a car, and that would probably be more for the yearly MOT. But ultimately, it keeps our attention, doesn't it? And if we didn't have that dashboard, I don't know about you, but I'd be getting into all sorts of pickles with going too fast or running out of fuel or whatever. So it's the same with your website. Having the tools behind it is going to help you look after it even better. Now, back in the day, many moons ago, before the internet took off, traditional marketing was very much about big billboards and posters, which I know are still around today, but direct mail. And that was great and it had its heyday, but it was very difficult to measure the ROI of that type of marketing. Whereas with websites, it's much easier to measure because it's got data behind it because of the digital nature. And there's a lot of things you can measure, such as, you know, what Google sees about your website, and how, most importantly, how users interact with your website and engage with it. And, you know, like any tool, we need to use it. we might not understand it straight away, and it might feel very technical for us, but unless we start using it and unless we start trying to understand it, then we're never going to sort of move the needle, as it were. And so that's the ultimate point of these tools, is to look at the data and try and understand it. And I guess that's where my skill of interpreting it comes in, but then feeding that intel back into our marketing activities. So it's all about discovery and testing and learning, and that's an iterative process. You know, it's if we knew the magic silver bullet and combination that worked for every business, you know, we wouldn't be sat here. So it's about starting with the tools, not being too scared, even though they can feel scary, but just giving it a go and then learning from there. And over time, that knowledge compounds. And, you know, you need to remember that a website isn't one and done. If you want it to perform in search, it's not a one and done thing, because it's dynamic. It's like your business. Your business is dynamic. Your business is always evolving and moving, and that's great. And the same as your website. It needs to sort of ebb and flow. And when you have the knowledge and the tool set and support on how to really make that website work hard for you, that's when you'll start to get the success from the amazing results that organic search can bring you. Any questions before I dive into some next slides? Anything anybody wants to ask me? No? Okay. Cool. Okay, so you've got your browser and you've got Google. We'll stick with Google for now. You go into Google and you do a search. So when someone's looking for something or they've got a problem, what do we do? We go to Google and we search for it. Now, what type of search you're doing is a whole nother topic, which I won't talk about today. But ultimately, after you've searched for a keyword or a query, you get a list of results. And that list of results is called the SERPs, or Search Engine Results Page. A little bit jargon for you, a little bit of an acronym, but it's a good one to know, because SEO people and digital marketing people will talk about the SERPs. And then you've got your website over here. So what we're trying to do, it's almost like two stakeholders that we're trying to appeal to. We're trying to appeal to the search engines, but also the users. We're trying to get them to come to our website for different reasons, but, you know. So your website then is over here and it has content and so forth, but unless it's, you know, visible and it's being, when I say visible, I don't mean live, because a website can be live but not visible on Google. So having your website, first of all, visible, and Google can actually crawl it, which means kind of go through the pages and decide whether those pages are relevant or whatever, and then index it with a view to then ranking it. So I know I've thrown a lot at you in that one little sentence, but it starts with visibility as the first thing. And the only way we're going to get our website more visible on Google search is by knowing what's happening behind the scenes in the tools. Does that make sense? Yeah? Brilliant. Okay, good. Right, so let's talk about these three tools. Google Search Console. It used to be called Google Webmaster Tools, which straight away is really off-putting because it's mentioning webmasters and that sounds really techie. But it's probably the most essential tool that Google provides because it's a reporting and analysis tool, and it's designed to help you understand how your website performs on Google. Okay, so in other words, it's your website from Google's perspective. Now, the data, although the interface of Search Console isn't brilliant and it can look really technical and not very nice to look at, but putting that to one side, again, once you use a tool, you start to get used to it. What it does, it allows you to monitor, maintain, but more importantly, troubleshoot, I think is the key word here, your website's presence in the search results. So Google Search Console will tell you if pages aren't live or visible or crawled or indexed. It will tell you things like it's not a keyword tool, but it does tell you some keywords that people have put in and come to your website. So that can be quite useful for looking at content ideas further down the line. It basically picks up any little errors that mean Google struggling to index your site, and that's really important because then we can go away and we can sort that out. And sometimes it can be just a very simple thing, but if Google is very clever, but also it needs to be kind of exact, if that makes sense. So it might be a little thing that just needs tweaking, and then that will make that page more visible. So there's other things it does, like understand, click-through rates and allowing you to republish your sitemap if you've made a load of changes to your site, and maybe links and things have changed, or you've added more pages, then you can resubmit it in the console, and Google does come back and check it periodically anyway. And of course, the more you update your site and put fresh content on there, mostly in the form of blogs, the more likely Google is going to come back and look at your site. Okay, so next tool is Google Analytics, which you might have heard about as well. This is also a reporting and analysis tool, and it gives more insight into your website from the user's perspective. So it's not so much, it is about how they got there, because we can see whether they've come from social media or if they've come from maybe a referral link like an email, or maybe it might have come from a backlink or direct traffic where someone knows about your business. But what we're really interested in is the organic traffic, and that comes down to aligning the keywords, which is a whole nother topic I talk about, not for today, but ultimately, that's one of the main things that we want, is to get that organic traffic to our website. And so then when they're on our website, it's about understanding, okay, well, what are they doing on there? What content are they looking at? What content are they dwelling on? What content, are they bouncing off a particular page really quickly? What's that telling us? So it's giving you a lot of information that you, as I say, you then take on board and feed back in. And if it's a blog that's done really, really well, why did it do well? Is it because perhaps you had run a promotion recently and you were pushing people to go and look at that particular piece of content? Or is it because it's a really necessary blog that is really popular? Maybe it's time of year, or maybe it's just a topic that's really important all of the time. So all of these things will really help with understanding what your users are doing on your website or not doing, and what therefore we need to do to get them a bit more engaged. And then the next third tool, which I'm not going to talk about for very long, because again, this is another topic, but Google Business Profile. It used to be called Google My Business, and it's basically your website all around your location. Google Business Profile itself is a free listing. So if you don't have a website yet, I always recommend to people to get this set up first, because it gives you a presence online even before your website is there. If you do have a website, then having that website link and everything, and doing some things to optimize the listing to complement your website is really useful. But I think the thing is, I get a lot of businesses say, well, I don't need local business. You know, I work with clients all over the world, which is fantastic. But actually, you are kind of missing a trick if you don't optimize your site for local search. And I know it depends on your business. I know, Ian, you need local business, local customers, whereas, you know, other of us might not need that. So obviously it depends on your business, but it really is a great tool to maximize, and I would highly recommend that at some point you get it if you haven't already got it. As I say, that's something I talk about separately. Any questions so far on those tools? No? Okay, cool. Right, so just briefly talk very, very briefly about AI. Things are changing with the search results, and that's because of, you know, generative AI and how that is going to affect when people search online. There's lots of talk about Google SGE, generative search, search GPT is coming, you know, things are changing and it's still being rolled out over here. But I think the important thing to mention is that, yes, we will see changes in the SERPs, but it's still all about content. It's still all about aligning someone's search with the right content. And so content is still king and queen. We just need to create comprehensive content aligned with the right user intent, or in other words, relevant content, relatable content that our audience wants, engaging content, unique content, because that will make us stand out above AI. And so content and the principles around SEO are not changing, which I think is really good news. And like I often say, you know, SEO is a bit like the stock market, and because your website is dynamic, it kind of goes up and down. And so as long as you've got a bit of a handle on it, then ultimately, you know, it'll even out in the long run once you start creating some evergreen content that is going to last for a long time. So really, I guess the takeaway from today, I think, is that visibility, it's all about visibility of your website, and to know how it's actually performing, we first need to benchmark where it's at. So if you don't have SEO, these tools set up, that's the first point of call really, is to get them set up on your website, because particularly with Google Analytics and Google Search Console, it will only start actually flowing the data from the date you set it up. So the sooner you get it set up, really the better. And then you can kind of benchmark where you're at the moment, so that then the changes you make in the future, you've got something to measure from. And so I mentioned the 3 tools I recommend, and Google does provide some other really good free tools as well. I've written a blog about it, so I can share that with you. But if the technical side, you know, these tools are free, so you could just go and do this for yourself. But if that sort of freaks you out and you think, no, I can't do that, then we can set that up for you. We offer a little service where we can do that for you. And I'll drop a link in a bit, so you can just contact me if you're interested. And then very, very briefly, in my business, for my website and for my clients and my members, I use a tool that kind of combines the three into one. And so where the individual tools are a little bit clunky and not great to look at, this tool is more user-friendly, has a better, more intuitive interface. It's probably further down the line if you don't have tools set up yet anyway, but just to say that, whilst it's important to understand the native tools, there are other things. At some point, you need to have a paid tool, or you need to work with somebody who can give you some intel that you would only get from a paid tool. So that's probably a bit further down the line, but just to sort of mention, and there's a little bit of a screenshot of some of, you can do keyword research, you can track how your keywords are performing, where they are on the research results page, if they're at number 1 or if they're on page 10 or whatever. So there's lots of things that you can look at in a much easier to understand way. And also, there's loads of little features it does, but it's a little bit more advanced than the tools I've shown you. Okay, so sort of on the last leg really of this is, what do you want to measure? Well, keep it simple at the start. Or you don't want to be looking at vanity metrics or worrying about comprehensive reports from SEO companies. It just boils down to, where is your traffic coming from currently to your website? What content is the most popular? And what's converting? So that would be kind of, if someone is downloading a freebie or booking a call with you, there's a way that you can track that. Just start there, because they are 3 good metrics that will give you a bit of a benchmark. And then over time, as if you're doing stuff to your website, you can kind of measure from there. I think that's everything I want to share for now. So I'd love some questions. If anybody's got anything they want to ask me, please do so.
Natalie, that one you just mentioned about converting and booking a call. So presumably, you know what a tech noddy I am, so a simple Bimples question. Presumably, I'd have to be using one of those online calendars and have that linked, would I, in order to track
No.
that kind of conversion, or is there another way?
You could just have a simple form, contact form, which somebody would fill out. And then so that's the sort of cheapest, quickest way of doing it.
Okay, and that would hook into the stats.
Yeah, that would hook into Google Analytics.
Okay, thanks.
And that would say, you had this many people. I mean, you'll know how many people because it will come into your email anyway, but it's nice to be able to see it as a conversion in Google Analytics.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah. The other thing I sent you about DIB, D-I-I-B. Well, you probably can't remember.
Oh, vaguely.
Yeah, fair enough. I just wondered if that was a similar thing to what you're talking about here. But if you can't remember, it doesn't matter.
I can't remember. I think that is one. It's like a free tool that gives a bit of. It's a bit like the tool I meant. Yeah, where it gives some intel into what's going on under the hood. Yeah. So that's quite good to look at for sure. There are other things like SEMrush, Ahrefs, Ubersuggest. They all have free versions, but you're sort of limited to what you can do on those tools. But as I say, that's probably further down the line anyway. Okay. Any other questions or?
You could tell us how you could help us interpret the stuff we're getting and what to do next. So, I mean, that would be obviously a paid service, but what's the best way of doing that?
So I've probably run out of time to actually go through my method that I usually go through with how I work. But but yes, I can help you set the tools up, or we can set the tools up for you if you prefer. And then really I think, in fact, I have got a slide. Where was it? Was it that one? This is all well and good, Natalie, but how does this actually help me in my business on my website? So personalizing it then and applying it to what your business, you need is going to be different from the next person. Best thing to do is book in a call with me, and I can find out a little bit more about where you're at, what you're struggling with, and then I can sort of guide you from there. But in terms of the tools, getting them up and running as soon as possible, if you have a website, is my recommendation. And if that scares you, then when I drop the link in a minute, then you can ask me about that as well, and we can take that off your hands for you. Yeah. Does that answer your question, Ian?
Yes, indeed. Thanks very much.
Okay, great. I have multiple ways of helping. I try to offer affordable services for small businesses so that it's possible for you to access me. But I think really it's about meeting you where you're at and what you need at the moment. So let me just, as promised, share some links. Okay, so this is the that's for if you want to chat about the tool, getting the tool set up. Just booking a quick call with me. If you want to have a bit more of an in-depth chat around kind of what's happening on your website, or a bit more around sort of strategy, and you'd like a demo of the tool I mentioned, then you can book in a longer call with me. I've dropped that link there. And then the Facebook group is, just grab that now, is there. So come and join that if you would like. Yeah, and I think that's everything for now. So I hope I don't know if anybody just wants to share a quick thing in the chat about what's been helpful today, what maybe a quick takeaway or light bulb, or something that's helped you would be really good, because it just gives me a little bit of feedback as to the content I'm giving you. Accessory tools doesn't feel so daunting to get. Wonderful, that's good to know, Alex. Yes, it's easy when you know how. Yeah, that's very true, Alex. I suppose the more you sort of hear these things, the hopefully the easier it kind of becomes. Okay. If there's any more, otherwise I'll close the meeting. Okay. You have said it before. Yes, it's good to hear it again, isn't it, Ian? Helen, gain some insights into the 3 tools and what they do. Yes, exactly. It's just a case of using them, isn't it, and giving them a go, and yeah, taking it from there. All right, well, lovely to see you all. Thank you so much for coming along today, and for taking part, and I hope to see you again, or book a call in with me otherwise.